Hi again, all you ECE leaders out there. This is Christine Wilson with this week's video on ECE leadership support. This week I got a question from one of my subscribers, and her name is Deborah. And Deborah asks this question: how do I maintain balance within an ever-changing field, that field being ECE, where expectations grow daily? Those being not only parental demands, but those of upper leadership as well. Thanks, Deborah. That's a really fantastic question, and I'm going to answer that for you today. Let's first talk about parents and upper management. This is the daily reality of all of you out there that are in ECE leadership positions, whether you're a director, site supervisor, or some sort of administrator. You understand that parents have an expectation that the quality of the care their children are receiving, especially where it comes to their education and how they're going to rank when they leave your program, is really an important issue. And upper management as well has a lot of demands on your time in the way that you manage the flow every day of the staff and whatever needs come up, okay? So you probably feel like you're caught in the middle between these two very cultural continuations, that being parents and staff and that being upper management. Okay, so Deborah, this is where the rubber hits the road on a little journey that I like to call accountability meets integrity. Okay, so what do I mean by this? I mean, you're going to have to get really comfortable learning how to speak the language of a leader. All right, now in this particular example that you gave me, you made the accountability and the integrity aspects very, very clear in the way that they intersect in this particular balancing act that you're trying to get over here. So let's talk about accountability and integrity as the process that it really is. And it's a reciprocal process that takes place when you're talking about accountability and integrity as an ECE leader. So for every increment of performance that someone demands of you, you have an equal responsibility to provide with the capacity to meet those expectations. And that is called the principle of reciprocity of accountability for capacity. That's kind of a long term there, but that's the name of that principle, okay? So I want you to really think about that, because what I'm really saying here is I'm saying that when you learn to speak like a leader, you're learning a little trick called quid pro quo, all right? Now, let me give you some examples. If the public and the parents want increased attention to academic quality and integrity in the program, then the quid pro quo should be the time that they invest in their child and the skills and knowledge necessarily to make that happen. Okay? And if teachers want legitimacy and they want purpose and credibility for their work, then the quid pro quo is learning to do their work differently and accepting a new model of accountability for themselves. All right, are you starting to feel me here? Okay, so the last example I'll give you is if upper management expects you to improve child outcomes and stay on top of your performance development game, then the expectation should be that they support you in all your initiatives and you work collaboratively together, and they should be giving you timely support in those endeavors. All right, so those are three examples of speaking like a leader or thinking like a leader with quid pro quo in mind. All right, so one more thing that I want to share with you as you're really practicing this thing called quid pro quo, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with. Why? Because you're demonstrating to all of your stakeholders that you're showing them legitimate accountability and integrity for what you do. By them asking you for something, you can in turn ask them, what it's going to take to get it done. All right? Now, the last thing that I want to leave you with is make sure that you're staying on top of your organizational learning game. If you remember, I did a video on organizational learning maybe 3 or 4 videos back, okay? You can always go back and review that video. But staying on top of your organizational learning game is key and crucial when you're learning to speak like a leader and you're using quid pro quo as a method to make that happen. So let me give you 3 examples in your particular example of how organizational learning can work for you when you're speaking the language of a leader. Number 1, you really need to make sure that you're constantly and consistently analyzing the needs of your parents and your staff and upper management so that you understand very clearly what it is that they need. Okay? Number 2, I want you to define the goals for the program, but I need you to also understand why those goals are being set. Okay? Sometimes those goals are going to come from upper management, and you have absolutely every reason to wonder why those goals are being set based on what you've learned from your organizational learning. Okay? And those kinds of conversations are very important and crucial to have in order for you to start to initiate some quid pro quo expectations. And lastly, number 3, after that, what you really need to do, which is really probably the most important, is you need to start asking yourself self-questions about the integrity and the accountability that you are bringing as the leader of your program or organization. And you also need to ask yourself questions about, is that accountability and integrity really impacting all of the individuals, how it's impacting the individuals, and then finally how it's impacting the collective whole. So if you keep all of these things in mind, all right, then you're going to be speaking the language of a leader. All right, so let's review really quickly. Number 1, start to begin to speak the language of a leader by using quid pro quo. And that means if someone has an expectation of you, then you have every right to have an expectation of how they fit into that equation in order to get the job done. Okay? And finally, make sure that you're using your organizational learning as a way to leverage yourself and leverage your credibility when you're having these conversations. Okay? So thank you so much, Deborah. And just for all of you out there, just know that anytime you want to leave a comment on my videos, or you just want to know another topic about leadership that I have studied extensively, go ahead, leave the comment, and ask of me anything you want. I will research it, and I will give you credible resources and great information every week. Remember, there is nothing that you as an ECE leader cannot do. You just have to believe it to achieve it. Love and respect, and I'll see you next time right here. Bye.